Diana Lovejoy is a beautiful 35-year-old woman with a strong and attractive figure. Greg Mulvihill is a 40-year-old man of average build and usually does not attract attention. Weldon McDavid Jr. is a man of about 45 years old. Diana Lovejoy plots against her estranged husband. Diana Lovejoy is a beautiful woman who attracts all eyes with her confident and dynamic demeanor. As a fitness trainer, she was once praised as a symbol of health and effort in body training. Not stopping there, Diana also succeeded as a famous chef on YouTube, where she shared healthy recipes, attracting millions of followers. Behind the screen, she is known as a mother who loves her son unconditionally, a role model that many women aspire to. Greg Mulvihill, Diana's husband, is a completely different person. Greg is a talented computer programmer, quiet and rarely shows emotions. Being a calm person, Greg prefers to spend time on work and rarely participates in social activities. However, his love for Diana is sincere and deep. This couple was once the ideal model of a happy family, but no one expected that behind that peaceful appearance were smoldering conflicts. The first months of Diana and Greg's marriage were filled with happiness. They met through a mutual friend, and love quickly blossomed between the two. Diana was attracted to Greg's intelligence and thoughtfulness, while Greg could not take his eyes off Diana's beauty and positive energy. Soon, they decided to get married, starting a new life with the hope of building a happy family. However, like any marriage, they faced challenges. One of the biggest challenges was having children. Diana and Greg longed for children, but fate did not smile on them. Diana suffered 8 miscarriages, each of which was a huge shock to the couple. Their hopes and dreams of a complete family seemed to fade away in their hands, leaving wounds that were not easy to heal. Finally, after much effort and tears, they welcomed the birth of a beautiful son. Diana and Greg thought this would be a turning point, a bright spot in their tumultuous marriage. But the reality was not as expected. Raising a young child, along with the pain from the past, gradually caused the two to drift apart. With the appearance of small conflicts, the feelings between Diana and Greg began to fade. Greg, who was originally a quiet person, gradually became indifferent and less interested in Diana's feelings. He often focused on work, forgetting to nurture his family. Meanwhile, Diana felt isolated and lacked sympathy from her husband. She felt lost in the very home she had tried to build. The disappointment and dissatisfaction in Diana's heart grew. She no longer received comfort in sharing from Greg, but instead there were terrifying silences. Although on the outside, Diana still maintained the image of a strong and successful woman. On the inside, she was drowning in loneliness and despair. The arguments between them became more and more frequent, and the love between them seemed to be just a shadow of the past. The rift could not be saved when Diana and Greg decided to divorce. The divorce was not only the end of a relationship, but also the explosion of long-standing conflicts. Diana wanted custody of the child, but Greg did not give up easily. He also loved their son and believed that he had the right to raise him. The custody battle became a tense confrontation between the two. Diana feared that Greg would use his power and money to take away her son. Diana's fears, panic, and anger grew, pushing her to the brink of losing control. The fear of losing her child becomes an obsession for Diana. In her mind, Greg is no longer the ex-husband she once loved, but a threat to her and her son's happiness. Feelings of helplessness and despair make Diana begin to think about eliminating Greg from her life. Diana meets Weldon McDavid Jr., a former Marine and shooting instructor. Through a shooting class she attends to relieve stress. McDavid, with his military experience and accurate sniper skills, becomes the person Diana trusts to help her solve her problems. In private conversations, Diana convinces McDavid to join her plan. She talks endlessly about the difficulties in her marriage, the injustice she has suffered, and the threats from Greg. Diana's goal, she told McDavid, was not to kill Greg, but simply to teach him a lesson so that Greg would give up on his attempt to gain custody of their son. But deep down, Diana knew she wanted more. She wanted Greg out of her life, so that she and her son could live in peace without any more fear. Diana prepared her plan carefully. She bought a disposable phone to contact Greg without leaving a trace. She then called Greg, pretending to be a private investigator, claiming to have important information related to the divorce, and asked to meet at a remote location in Carlbad. That night, when Greg arrived at the meeting place, McDavid was ready with an assault rifle in his hand. The attack was swift and brutal. Greg was shot in the left chest, but by some miracle the bullet missed his heart and did not kill him. Greg's friend Jason immediately called 911 for help. Greg was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, and the police began an investigation into the incident. Police suspected Diana from the start, as she appeared indifferent to the news of Greg's shooting. Her demeanor was completely out of character for such a serious situation, and this prompted detectives to dig deeper. They discovered the disposable phone Diana had used to contact Greg, and from there they linked her to Weldon McDavid Jr. Police questioned McDavid, but he initially denied any involvement. However, irrefutable evidence began to surface. McDavid's DNA was found at the crime scene, and the assault rifle used to shoot Greg was also discovered in McDavid's home. Faced with the overwhelming evidence, McDavid could no longer deny it and had to admit that he had participated in the attack at Diana's request. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as Greg Mulvihill, despite his efforts to remain calm, could not hide the pain and hurt in his eyes. He was faced with Diana Lovejoy, who had been an integral part of his life. Every glance from Diana was like a cold knife stabbing into his heart, making him feel like he was reliving that night's nightmare. In court, Diana sat silently, her face expressionless. Her brazenness was in stark contrast to the pain Greg was going through. Diana's lawyers insisted that she had no intention of killing Greg. They argued that Diana had only wanted to scare him to ensure custody of their children, and that the situation had spiraled out of control. They also accused Greg of a history of violence and sexual harassment, but there was no evidence to prove it. In contrast, prosecutors painted a clear picture of Diana Lovejoy, a smart woman, but clouded by fear and resentment. They argued that Diana had meticulously planned to eliminate Greg, from hiring a professional hitman to staging the meeting in a remote location and using disposable phones to avoid detection. Everything showed her cold calculation and determination. Diana's co-defendant, Weldon McDavid Jr., was also confronted with the truth. Although he initially denied any guilt, the overwhelming evidence forced him to admit to participating in the attack. McDavid testified that Diana had convinced him with stories of injustice and fear of losing her child, making him believe that teaching Greg was the only way to help her. However, he also admitted that he had no idea how serious things would become. After the shocking testimony, the trial became more tense than ever. The atmosphere in the courtroom was suffocating as the judge read the verdict. Diana Lovejoy was convicted of intentional homicide. She faced a lengthy prison sentence, and Weldon McDavid Jr. also received a harsh sentence for his complicity. Greg, who survived, sat silently as the verdict was read. His relief that justice had been served was mixed with an indescribable sense of pain. His life had been changed forever since that terrible night, and although he survived, the physical and mental scars would never be erased. Diana Lovejoy, a woman admired by many, had turned into a public figure. What she once had a successful career and a loving mother was now a thing of the past. Her ambition, fear, and hatred had led her down a path of no return. Diana Lovejoy's story is a painful lesson in the terrible consequences of letting anger and fear rule her actions. From a beautiful love and a happy marriage, Diana destroyed everything with her own hands, facing long years in prison. Greg Mulvihill continues his life with scars that never heal, both physically and mentally. Don't take your eyes off the screen because we have many other dramatic cases for you to watch. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Don't forget to like, share, and follow the channel to support us. See you again in the next video.